Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? 'Cause I'm a creep. Yeah, I'm a widow. What the hell am I doing here? Yeah, I don't belong here. Oh, I don't belong here. This is ground control to Major Tom. I'm stepping through the door. Yeah, and I'm floating in a most peculiar way. And the stars look very different today. Hi there. What I just played for you was a selection of different songs from various different artists which all had one thing in common. That thing is called a Plagal minor cadence. Now, what the crap is a Plagal minor cadence, you might ask? Well, let me tell you, because if you're not a complete music nerd like me, you've probably not heard those words used in that context before. So let me explain. A musical cadence in Western music theory is a melodic or harmonic configuration that creates a sense of resolution, finality, or pause. A harmonic cadence is a progression of at least two chords that concludes a phrase, section, or piece of music. A plagal cadence is a cadence in which the chord of the subdominant or the fourth chord in a given key immediately precedes that of the tonic. Finally, a plagal minor cadence is a plagal cadence in which the subdominant or the four chord is minor instead of major. Now, that might sound very complicated, but it's not. Let me put it into a musical context for you. In the key of C major, the tonic or the one chord is a C major chord. The subdominant or the four chord is an F major. You just count up four notes from the C. C, D, E, F. Sorry about my out of tune piano. So a plagal cadence in C major would go from F major to C major. Or it's a nice resolution. Now, a minor plagal cadence simply changes that F major to an F minor, and you get this great sound. An even nicer resolution. As you saw at the beginning, this cadence is quite commonly used in Western music. Now, if 3 examples wasn't enough for you, you just wait. I've got plenty more where that came from. Now, this is where I come to the Vox video. I'd like to just preface this by saying, in general, I love Vox's stuff. They've got some great videos about music and hip-hop, which I really enjoy, and their political stuff is pretty on point as well. So I'm not hating on Vox in general, just this one didn't sit quite right with me. In the video, Vox asked the question, what makes Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You sound so Christmassy? The two things they suggest are connections to 2 different songs. The first is a Phil Spector Christmas carol called Christmas Baby Please Come Home, which Vox says Mariah most tried to imitate stylistically. The second is a connection to an Irving Berlin song sung by Bing Crosby called White Christmas, and this is the bit I take issue with. The claim is that a secret chord that Berlin uses in his song that is also present in Carey's song gives
Mariah Carey's song that kind of classic early 20th century Christmas jazzy sound.
And
it's just the most Christmassy thing in the world.
The chord they're referring to is a D minor 7 flat 5 chord, which resolves to a C major. And just as a note, from this point on, I'm going to be referring to everything in C major because that makes everything way easier. Even though a lot of the songs that I'll be talking about will be in different keys, it'll just make things way confusing. So C major from now on. The claim is that this secret chord is just like the most Christmassy thing ever, and that it imbues Mariah's song with that superpower, which I feel like is a bit of a stretch, considering that this chord, and more specifically the sound and the feeling that it gives when used as part of a cadence, is pretty common to Western music.
But Michael, Vox said that the secret chord is a D minor 7 flat 5, and that's not an F minor chord like you said at the beginning.
Yeah. And that brings me to my second issue with this video. Vox's assertion that this chord in question is a D minor 7 flat 5 is not technically right. I checked All I Want for Christmas Is You, and the chord in question is an inversion of a minor 6 chord, as you can hear from the bass movement. The 4 chord, F major in this case, changes to an F minor 6 with an A flat in the bass, as opposed to a D minor 7 flat 5 chord that Vox says it is, which would have a D in the bass. In White Christmas, it's a little harder to hear because it's an older recording and it's just strings, so I listened to a more modern recording by Michael Bublé, and the chord in question is actually a B flat 7. And upon further review, this seems to be the case in Bing Crosby's version as well. Now, if we take a look at these chords, you will see where some of the confusion will lie. A D minor 7 flat 5 chord is made up of 4 notes: D, F, A flat, and C. An F minor 6 chord with an A flat in the bass is made up of 4 notes as well: A flat, C, D, and F.
But hold on a gosh darn minute there, Michael. Those are the same damn notes. Do we have 2 different names for chords with the same notes? Fuck music theory!
Exactly, dear viewer, and this is where my contention lies. Vox, either intentionally or not, decided to call this chord a D minor 7 flat 5 as opposed to an F minor 6, even though when you listen to the song you hear an F minor 6, not a D minor 7 flat 5.
But hold on there, Michael. What about B flat 7? That's like totally different, right? That's totally different.
You would think so, wouldn't you? But not really. A B flat 7 chord is made up of 4 notes: B flat, D, F, and A flat. And if we make it a B flat 9 chord, we simply add a C on top and boom, it's exactly the same as a D minor 7 flat 5 or an F minor 6, just with a B flat in the bass. In fact, if we take a look at an excerpt from a jazz theory book, we can see a list of chords that all work in a Plagal minor cadence. And as you can see, D minor 7 flat 5, F minor 6, and B flat 7 are all on that list. Though it should be said, F minor 6 is definitely the most common usage, especially in pop music, followed reasonably closely by B flat 7. D minor 7 flat 5 would be quite a lot less common in pop music in this context. That's not to say that if these 2 songs had used a Plagal minor cadence with a minor 7 flat 5 chord that Vox's premise would be any more legitimate. Just that the other iterations are the ones we hear more commonly, and it's these iterations that White Christmas and All I Want for Christmas Is You are employing, and what connects these 2 songs to the greater Western musical tradition, and not just Christmassy sounds. Now, I don't know if this was an intentional choice to make their chords sound more special and actually give them a topic for their video, but it seems likely that not many people have heard of a minor 7 flat 5 chord, and so it probably sounds more fancy and makes their premise sound more plausible than if they just said F minor. Also, many people, including music types, probably don't know the connection between a minor 7 flat 5 chord and a minor 6 chord, so they probably wouldn't know that they both fit perfectly well into a Plagal minor cadence. So, either Vox and their music-y professor guy didn't listen to the songs properly and heard different chords and then thought, wow, that's a fancy-ass chord, that's probably the reason why it sounds so Christmassy. Or they did know the actual chords and they knew the connection between those chords and a minor 7 flat 5 chord, and they chose to present it as a minor 7 flat 5 chord because it sounds more super secret and special and it supports their premise. Even though it doesn't really support their premise, it just makes it a little bit more difficult for one to realize how commonly that chord is used in that context. To me, it sounds like classic doo-wop music. The harmony, the 12/8 style rhythm, it's just faster with bells and shit. And just to drive the point home that the Plagal minor cadence is far from restricted to Christmassy music and stuff, here's a bunch of songs that all employ the cadence. Happy Kwanzaa days.
Never let me down before.
Just friends, lovers no more. Just friends.
Now my baby's dancing, but she's dancing with another man. Take a look at the closer than friends use, but I still can't say it after all we've been through. And too old to just break free and run. So while it's over, let the children lose it.
Said the words you know are true. I'm stoned. I wanna run through the halls of my high school. I wanna scream at the top of my lungs. Love you with open arms. Nothing to hide. Believe what I say. So
I'm not the kind of man who tends to socialize. I seem to lean on old familiar. Tomorrow, carry on, nothing really matters. Unfold before you what I've strung together, the very first words of a lifelong love letter to the places I remember all my life, though some have changed. I take my chances, for romance is so important. How does it feel? How does it feel? Did I wanna know how it feels? If I'd been out till 2:45, would you lock the door? Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? Just like Marie Antoinette.